hello everyone. Thank you for your patience as we wanted to make sure everyone stayed absolutely safe. But I'm so glad that we could come together now to celebrate this wonderful, wonderful moment. So, as you heard before, and this may be the last time I get to say this, my name is Bridget Long, and I'm very, very proud to be the Dean of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So welcome to the graduates, colleagues, family, and friends, and congratulations to you all. I know many people have helped the graduates arrive at this special moment. Parents and other caretakers, partners, friends, and others cheering you on today. Graduates, would you please take a moment to stand and honor those who helped you reach this incredible milestone? And I noticed there are many young children in the audience today. Now, children, I invite you to comment in any way you see fit at today's ceremony. You will make this place feel alive as we look towards the next generation. I would also like to thank the staff who have worked especially hard to make this graduation special. They deserve a huge round of applause. And finally, I'd like to thank the faculty who serve not only as teachers and colleagues, but as mentors and friends. As we start, I'd first like to recognize those who came before us in this place. Harvard University is located on the traditional and ancestral land of the Massachusetts, the original inhabitants of what is now Boston and Cambridge. We pay respect to the people of the Massachusetts tribe, past and present, and honor the land itself, which remains sacred to the Massachusetts people. Let us also acknowledge Harvard's entanglements with slavery. We take a moment to honor the enslaved women, men, and children who helped to build Harvard University and other education institutions that were not intended to serve them and did not respect the dignity of their humanity. Acknowledging our history is an important and powerful way to combat the erasure of the important contributions, sacrifices, and stories of those who came before us. And let us also recognize the privileges we enjoy today as a legacy of those who were not given a choice. Now, commencement is an important moment to recognize and celebrate the achievements of our graduates. And I want to recognize or acknowledge that we celebrate during a time of violence. Around the world and close to home, there is uncertainty, anger, and perpetual reminders of how quickly some can forget our shared humanity and the respect and dignity we all deserve. At HGSC, it is our mission to improve the lives of people around the world through education. And as I told my first cohort of students as dean years ago, they did not come to Hugsy just to get an education for themselves. It was also to improve the lives of those who can't be here. As such, commencement, I know, may include expressions of concern and support for those who are not here. Also remember, though, that we are a community that is committed to respecting the rights, differences, and dignity of others. So let us enter this moment fully, knowing that if we do not celebrate the good, then why bother to stand up against the bad? It's because we have all experienced moments of joy that we work so hard to make sure that others do as well. And today, we take a moment to celebrate the many, many wonderful things that are possible when dedicated people apply their time and talents to improving the world through education. And to our graduates, your work will continue in the months and years ahead. But I hope today fills you with happiness, with friendship, and with encouragement to help carry you through the days ahead. So again, as I look at the graduates, I am so proud of you guys. It was wonderful to visit with you this morning before the morning ceremonies and just to hear your voices when your degrees were conferred. I really want to say congratulations. You joined us from all over the world, and some of you were starting your careers while others were already seasoned professionals. And I especially want to recognize that some of you were the first member in your family to earn any college degree, and now you find yourself graduating from Harvard. Will my first-generation college students rise? Congratulations again. So in a moment, we will award your diplomas, but first I want to share a few thoughts as you look forward to your next chapter. As you know, this is my last commencement as dean at HGSE, and so I want to take an opportunity to reflect on all this community has done together. The last 6 years only reinforced my belief in the incredible things that are possible here. We completed a multi-year process to redesign our master's degree programs, resulting in the creation of the foundations and new pathways to study to prepare students for a range of impactful careers. We weathered the COVID pandemic and found new ways to connect, invest in our skills and our community, and support students. We opened our doors to many new students by creating an exemplary online master's degree program. Okay. I'm very happy for you all. And we enhanced our external engagement with convenings on critical topics such as education recovery after the pandemic, polarization in education, climate change and the role of education and education leaders, mental health, and elite admissions practices. And the thing I'm most proud of, we raised over $83 million in financial aid so that HGSE can welcome and support many more students regardless of their ability to pay. Yes, HGSE is a shining example of the power of education. But what about the people who make the magic of education happen? The power of education is only possible because of people, and so I decided long ago that my final address as Dean of HGSE would be an expression of love and admiration to the amazing individuals here, as well as those working in earnest in every corner of the globe to improve the world through education. This is my love letter to educators. Now, let me first be clear that I'm using the word educator in the broadest way possible. Of course, I'm referring to the teachers, mentors, coaches, counselors, and leaders in education who directly affect learning. But I'm also including those who indirectly create the conditions and supports necessary for learning and success. I want to especially recognize our incredible HGSE staff colleagues who build, maintain, and provide the supports and structures that enable students and this entire community to do their best work. Graduates, you will help shape the educational journeys of learners of all ages as you apply what you learned here at HGSE. And you've also been educators to each other. That is part of the magic. The way fellow students expand our learning and growth by exposing us to new ideas and helping us sharpen our own thoughts, even though we don't always agree. And I bet there are a number of educators in the audience. Like so many graduates, I'm the child of a teacher. Do we have any teachers, counselors, principals out there? What I feel today, and have felt many times during my tenure as dean, is gratitude to my colleagues, to our amazing students, and to the educators who made me who I am today. And so these remarks are an expression of my appreciation and gratitude to educators, the people who make the power of education real. Now, one of the rewarding things about my job is the incredible educators I get to meet. Some are internationally known leaders in education, and we even had a Muppet and showed that he could be an educator when we recognized a few years ago and celebrated the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street, which started in collaboration with researchers here at HGSE. But what actually sticks with me the most are the education professionals who are doing amazing things in their communities. I loved chatting with Michael Hester, the then superintendent of the Batesville School District in Arkansas. He spearheaded a program to install solar panels at schools, and this generated enough revenue to fund salary increases for all district teachers. Ugh. And I was so impressed hearing about 20 years of education reform in Chicago from two former Chicago public school CEOs, Arnie Duncan and Janice Jackson, and the current CEO, Pedro Martinez. And meeting Alexander McLean, founder and CEO of Justice Defenders, was definitely a highlight. His organization works in Kenya, Uganda, and the Gambia to train incarcerated men and women to become paralegals. These paralegals have provided free legal services to more than 100,000 incarcerated people, and they have facilitated the release of over 30,000 clients. Very impressive indeed. But you don't have to look any further than the HGSE community to see examples of outstanding educators. Each year, we recognize one faculty member with the Morningstar Family Teaching Award for Excellence in teaching and advising, and evidence of a caring, respectful, and enthusiastic commitment to students. This year's winner is David Docterman. With an impressive 23 nominations, his students wrote about his deep commitment, transformative teaching, and his kindness, compassion, and ability to make students feel seen and heard. So congratulations to Doc for this well-deserved honor. But not to take anything away from Doc, Doc is not alone in his pursuit to be an outstanding educator. One of my favorite memories from the past several years is when I was able to award the Morningstar Family Teaching Award to the entire HGSE faculty, something that had never been done before. We had just lived through the monumental task of pivoting to a completely online year, revamping the curriculum, learning new ways of teaching, and innovating in how we supported students regardless of their geographic location. And there are many, many nomination letters. Students wrote how faculty members were the embodiment of dynamic learning in a virtual setting and how they empowered students to have voice in classroom discussions. The HGSE faculty and staff exemplify what it means to be amazing educators. So I've given you a number of examples of outstanding educators, but what do they have in common? A great deal has been written about the qualities of a good educator. Among them are patience and strong communication skills, adaptability and creativity, empathy, and subject matter expertise. However, I feel this list is insufficient, and I'd like to add several things I've observed during my time as dean about other qualities outstanding educators share. The first thing we need to recognize is that good teaching and providing effective supports is a craft, one requiring expertise, skill, careful listening, and adaptation. Let's go back a bit. So a little known secret is that most PhD programs don't teach you how to teach. It's all about research and publishing, especially in economics departments where I come from. But when I applied for the job as assistant professor here at HGSE, I started to get questions about my pedagogical approach and my teaching philosophy. So what did I do when I didn't know the answers? I called my mother. She was a teacher, and I implored her to give me pointers on how the magic is made. And it was with my mother's guidance I relied upon as I started my time here at HGSE. But I recognized the need to invest in honing my craft. I observed the teaching of more senior colleagues and sought regular feedback and suggestions. And thankfully, it all worked out. To be clear, though, once I got the job and explained to my mother what my teaching load and service demands would be as a college professor, she was not at all impressed. You see, she had been a public school teacher for 25 years in struggling urban high schools, and she often taught the students with behavioral issues who were not considered to be on college track. So clearly, I was not going to convince my mother about the stress and strain of being a college instructor. And it didn't matter when I tried to explain that I didn't simply teach from a textbook, but instead had to produce much of the knowledge I intended to teach. But I do really want to take a moment to commend K-12 teachers and community college instructors and professors who serve the bulk of our college students without the aid of numerous talented teaching fellows, without the supports of the Office of Academic Affairs and Student Services, and without the gift of time to plan each class. Yet, what is common among the best educators is their recognition that teaching is a craft, and they lean into that work because it's also incredibly rewarding. As John Steinbeck wrote, teaching might even be the greatest of arts, since the medium is the human mind and spirit. That magic we see in the best education settings does not occur by happenstance, but because the best educators recognize the expertise and experience critical to serving our students, and they commit to that task. Now, my second observation that I've made about many outstanding educators is we are moved by our deep commitment to our students. It is a mission driven by hope. As I said in a previous commencement speech, education is an expression of hope. You have to believe in good things in order to be an educator. We are propelled by the idea that education is an investment in the future with the belief that our efforts will result in improving the circumstances of a learner, a community, or even a country. I want to recognize my father, who provided me with unwavering support and was perhaps the most vocal advocate for the importance of education. And I suspect, graduates, many of you had someone similar in your lives who planted a seed about the transformational impact of education, not just for your own lives, but for the lives of many. Our mission-focused work as educators results in us not only hoping for a better future, but being a critical part of shaping that future. We are on the front lines of change as well as emerging challenges. Take, for example, efforts to restrict information, spread misinformation, and limit what students learn. This approach harms all students and fails to recognize that great teachers stimulate, provoke, and engage students with the issues of our complex world. If we do not prepare students for the realities and diversity of the world and impress upon them the innate dignity and respect deserved by every single person, this world will not only end up with ignorance, but with hate. As educators, it is our mission to create a better world that keeps so many of us focused. So as you look ahead, I encourage you to lean into this distinct aspect of being an educator. Graduates, you have demonstrated time and time again your dedication to the mission of improving education. from your initial decision to apply and attend, to your active pursuits while here as students, to your intentions to do good work in the months and years ahead. Now, because of that strong sense of purpose, my third point about educators is that we persevere. We don't give up. It was only a few years ago that we came together to build an exciting new chapter that re-envisioned what learning could look like and how we could continue to function as a community during the COVID-19 pandemic. As I noted before, the faculty and staff did the impossible that year, pivoting to remote education, connection, and support. The summer of 2020, I sent the following email to the HGSE community. Increasingly, there is evidence that the strategic decision to pursue remote learning has now become an opportunity to explore, experiment, and learn how to not only continue what makes HGSE great, but to also chart a new vision of what is possible. And years later, I am still filled with pride at what this community of educators did. That year created new opportunities, resulting in the establishment of our online master's program in education leadership. And I'm pretty proud to award degrees to the first cohort of graduates this year, who you've heard from. Now, I do think it's worth noting that the Ed School was the only school at Harvard that faced the pandemic not with diminished expectations and compromise, but instead with courage, heart, and an exciting sense of possibility. We joined together not only to serve our students, but also help to support students, the students, families, educators, and communities around the world. So to review, educators embark on mastering a craft. We have a special sense of purpose, and we don't give up or easily get deterred. My fourth observation is that outstanding educators recognize the potential in students that others do not see. I found a quote by an educator named Jose Vilson that illustrates my point. He wrote, "Most of my work as a math teacher isn't even math. It's helping students believe that they can do math." Sometimes the greatest impact we can have is to help students believe the amazing things that they are capable of doing. I have also benefited greatly from people who saw things in me that I was reluctant to believe. My decision to take the leap and become dean is one example. I was uncertain and intimidated by the possibility, but a fellow educator made a world of difference in encouraging me. She had been a teacher, principal, and superintendent of an area school district. She was also in the midst of a leadership transition, taking a new and very different role. And when I expressed worry that perhaps I wasn't cut out to be dean, she said something that has stuck with me for all these years. Leadership can look many ways. Make the job your own. And that was exactly what I needed to hear. Months later, I would become the first African-American woman to serve as dean of HGSE. At the reception of my announcement as dean, I told the audience, I join the growing ranks of leaders who don't fit the traditional mold reflected by so many of the portraits around this institution, by race or by gender. And I know our examples, though, will encourage many of you who hear my voice today to make your own marks. Now, years later, I hope I have lived up to my promise to encourage others to take their leaps forward. To each and every person here, consider that you are capable of more than you know. And as educators, be sure to emphasize the potential in others that society may refuse to see. I started my list of amazing things about educators with a story about my mother. And I want to complete my list by returning to her example. HGSE has been an incredible place to show me what outstanding educators can do. But I think the most amazing educator I've known is my mother, Eleanor Terry. Let me get through this. Now, guys, it goes on. It goes on, okay?
You got it.
Okay, we're gonna keep going. Now, I want you guys to hear this. I want you to hear this. Of course, I realized long ago how amazing my mother is and how blessed I am to be her daughter. There are a million little things, and I'm so thankful for the many opportunities I had to tell her and show her my love and adoration. You see, in January, a little over 4 months ago, my mother passed away from Alzheimer's. And even though we had been contending with the disease for several years, it was still a shock. I'd be lying to say my grief didn't sometimes overwhelm me, but I really don't want this to be a moment of sorrow. Instead, in the last few months, and really the last several years, it's been a time when my appreciation for all she has given me, done for me, and shared with me has become clear. When I was asked to write her obituary, I struggled with how to summarize her life. Ultimately, this is what I wrote. Eleanor loved fiercely and unconditionally, was generous in her support, and lifted those around her, often seeing the potential in people that others missed. We fondly remember her amazing storytelling, ready laugh and jokester spirit, and the fear she could instill in bullies despite her tiny frame. Simply put, she was a living example of the best I have seen in others, the many educators I've had the honor of working with, learning from, and collaborating with. So let's review the list of attributes of the most amazing educators. I already told you my mother was the first person to share with me the craft of teaching. She exemplified a sense of purpose and demonstrated the hope she had in others with her willingness to forgive and her belief in second, third, and fourth chances. Her tenacity was legendary. Once she decided something was important, she was never deterred. My mother did not know the meaning of giving up. And even as a kid, I recognized my mother's superpower was to see the potential in people that others missed. She would often encourage students, friends, and even strangers she would meet in passing. She taught me so much with her example, and this leads me to perhaps the most important thing about outstanding educators. The true beauty of being an educator is the compounding effects we have. This is the legacy we all share. And it is the legacy my mother leaves behind that I am reminded of each and every day. As educators, the things we do have ripple effects through students, families, and communities until our impact adds up to something truly extraordinary. As I told potential donors while fundraising for financial aid, by investing in one HGAC student, you are not only investing in one person, you are helping every person that HGSE grad supports, teaches, and mentors in the years ahead. And this is a powerful statement, and I think part of the reason we were able to be successful in the financial aid campaign. After all, like I often remind my colleagues across the university, education is the profession that creates all the other professions. And because of the incredible impact of educators, my mother lives on in so many ways. It has been a bit surprising to hear from many of my mom's former colleagues and students who have reached out to me after learning the news of her passing. Sometimes Facebook actually has some value, and I've gained a small sense of the considerable impact my mother has had on a large range of people. Of course, my mother will always live on through me and my sister and her 4 grandsons, but because of what she did and who she was, She will continue to live on in so many other ways and through so many other people. That's because she was an educator, an absolutely outstanding educator. So I knew this speech would be a love letter to educators, and as I sat to write it, I realized it was also a love letter to my mom, my ultimate teacher, mentor, support, and friend. I'm almost there. So cherish the special role of being an educator. It is a calling like none other. Hold on to those things, lean into those things that make education the most important and special profession. Be outstanding educators in the community of educators this world desperately needs. And if you're not sure what to do, then do what has worked well for me. Be like my mother. Love fiercely and unconditionally. Be generous in your support. Lift those around you. See the potential in people others missed. Have a ready laugh and jokester spirit. And regardless of your stature, fight for what's right and defend those who are weaker. I end this year in my deanship with great optimism, and that is because of the strength and legacy I feel from my mother and the promise of all that you will do in the future. Graduates, you are the light that HGSE contributes to the world. Joining together with over 30,000 HGSE alumni around the world, you are an incredible force for good. Your dedication, hard work, and ideas will lead the field forward. And with the many educators in the field we call colleagues and partners, we will make a positive change. And now it's time to celebrate. Congratulations to the class of 2024.